and design. We want to focus on how intentional instructional design and delivery can revolutionize pedagogy. Our objectives include delving into innovative approaches that create dynamic and engaging learning environments, fostering a discourse on effective student pedagogy and providing valuable insights for serving diverse communities. We all know that no matter how brilliant, no matter how smart a teacher is, or a lecturer, a faculty member, if he is unable to connect to the level at which the student will learn or learning to take place, there is definitely not good. Learning is not going to take place. So we're going to discuss this today. And on this panel, I have 3 people already in the room. Do we have anybody online?
No, not yet.
Okay, so we don't have people online yet. In this room, we have Olukayode Odujobi of the Nigerian International School. Nigerian International School is in Cotonou. I'll be reading his biography. You may come to see. Please let's clap for him. So, Olukayode Odujobi earned a bachelor's degree in education with a bias in economics. He obtained a postgraduate degree of the National Open University of Nigeria, where he specialized in educational administration and planning. Usually, he refreshes through enduring professional learning and community, where he regularly connects, engages, and explores professionally. Currently earning the MS in Advanced Teaching Program for the University of the People, California, and has equipped himself with the current trends in education thinking, especially in the knowledge of student learning styles, pedagogy, and assessment. A highly resourceful learning facilitator, Nigeria International School, Cotonou, Republic of Benin, where he teaches economics, cultural and critical arts, as well as general music. His research interests include integrated art education, professional development, childhood pedagogy, gender, and cultural studies. He has membership of association. He has membership of Association Montessori International, Learning Disabilities Worldwide, Chartered Institute of Mentoring and Coaching, Nigeria, and the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. Many of the research express the interdisciplinary connectivity between education and other cognitive disciplines. We will be presenting a paper titled Mediation, Enhancing Effective Differentiated Instructional Strategies with Diverse Student Population. And then in the room, we also have another person in the name of Yetunde J.S. Alabede. Please for her. And she will be sharing her paper titled Implementing Teaching, Not Teaching, Understanding by Design, a Decolonial Pedagogy for Diverse Learning Environments. And I'll be reading her profile right away. Sorry, just a minute. So, Yetunde Alabede is a doctor, wife, mother, friend, liberal Muslim, cultural enthusiast, and food lover. She's currently a PhD student in the Department of Curriculum Instruction and Teacher Education at Michigan State University, East Lansing, Michigan. She received a Fulbright Language Teaching Program Fellowship 2018 to 2019 and the PEO International Peace Scholarship for 2 consecutive years. She holds a bachelor's degree in English education from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, and a master's in cross-cultural and international education from Bowling Green State University, Ohio. Her research includes a decolonial and global South epistemologist approach to language policies and practices of African immigrant and migrant families. The nexus between parenting, languaging, and gifting, multilingualism, less commonly taught languages, Pedagogy, and homeschool community educational collaboration to enhance Africa and Africa immigrants and migrant children development and sense of belonging. She will be presenting our paper, Implementing Understanding by Design. Welcome. So the third person in the room, is there no has any other person arrived? Exactly. Yes, she did third. The third person in the room is Gloria Agogo Okunlola. Maybe jam my hand here. Gloria Agogo Okunlola is from Obafemi Awolowo University. And she will be presenting her paper on the dynamics of effective engagement and teaching competence of student teachers in Osun State University and Ekiti State University. I'm reading her profile now. Gloria Agokola backs a doctorate degree in education and 2 master's degrees in psychology of education and business administration from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. She had a BSc in business education from the University of Benin City, Nigeria. She currently transitioned from the position of an accountant in Boston Department to a lecturer in the Department of Educational Foundation and Counseling, Faculty of Education at the Obafemi Awolowo University, where she co-teaches courses with other lecturers in the department at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. Her work experience spans across the non-academic into the academic field. She has attended and presented her research work in seminars, workshops, and conferences. With a steadfast commitment to excellence, she seeks to dedicate her expertise to achieving quality knowledge production and transfer, impactful and innovative researches and disciplines, and she finds inspiration in literature, online exploration, and music. Let's make welcome once again, Gloria Agogo. I think I need to introduce myself too. My name is Dr. Kola Amao. I'm a faculty member at the University of Lagos Entrepreneurship and Skills Development Center. Whichever research is related to the entrepreneurship, education, pedagogy, and the development of a university-based entrepreneurship ecosystem interests me. It must be student-centered and it must be outcome-based. That's the core of my research. So I'm happy to be here, and a little bit of surprises in this room, because this room is a room that is circled around teaching by design and innovation in pedagogy. We're going to be doing a little bit of innovative things while this session goes on. I know we're used to having, I know we're used to having a stranger. Okay. I know we're used to having the classroom pattern, but we're going to do it differently a little bit this time. So what I need someone to volunteer to be our timekeeper, because they are going to, okay, you want to be our timekeeper. So they are going to present for 15 minutes, right? Okay. They're presenting for 10 minutes. And then after each presentation, we're going to have a reflection session. So there are 3 now. I've assigned 3 colors to each of them. They're going to have, so hello, sis. You're going to help me. So after the presentation, we have a 1-minute reflection session, and everybody will write one thing, summarize their presentation in 1 line. Whatever thing you have gleaned from what they have said, you can write it down in 1 line, and then 1 question you have for them. So, but then this is for, we'll take it color by color so we can separate. So what that means is that he has this. When a color assigned, God bless you. Then when you're getting it, you can just pick it so that we can go through it. We all are going to do that way. That's fine. So thank you very much. It's now time. And now we'll be calling the first presenter. Our first presenter is Olukai. I don't know if says the pregnancy. When people are pregnant, I just want to I don't know what it means. Okay, would you like to inquire about that? I can go and or would you like them to go so that you can? Yeah, if they, we want to hear your plan too.
Yes.
You must send it as to. So yeah, you send it to the kid. Yes, I sent it. Please send it to my WhatsApp.
Is that an expand?
What? Yes, send it to my WhatsApp. Can you send it to my WhatsApp? So I send it to you.
Okay.
Let's try that. Send it email again. Yes, I'm sending. Okay, while she does that, I can do that while you are presenting. I'd like to invite Psychiatrist Joby to have his presentation. Let's start on it. You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Well, the introduction has been done already.
Please.
Title of my paper is Mediation, Enhancing Effective Differentiated Instructional Strategy, Diverse Student Population. Well, it came up as, I said, can I please start?
Why not?
Yeah, it came up in a situation where I work, is Nigeria International School situated in Oyo. And basically it started as Nigerian parents who really wanted Nigerian education for their children. They were tired probably with the French education. And they said, look, we need Nigerian education here. And that was how the school started in 1981. And what I saw I joined the school some 15, 16 years ago. And I realized that we have a lot of students from Nigeria, maybe about 85%. But with the economic meltdown, it began to go down and down and down and down. And of course, the tide turned, and it turned that majority are now Beniners and other, members of other countries within Nigeria, within the Republic of Benin, maybe whose parents are diplomats or whatever. Now, I realize that when we teach, myself, my colleagues within the system, I could see that many of us, we have what we call professional development groups. And when we talk, we realize also that not many of us do understand what some of these strategies are. So we develop a framework where we begin to teach ourselves, each one teach one. And in the process of doing that, I come up with differentiation studies. When I came up with differentiation strategy, it seems very new to all of them. And at a point, I really want to see, okay, now that you know what it is, are you really applying it in your class? When we go through Tom Wilson, please, can you start slide?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the differentiation came up through Dr. Tomlinson, a lecturer somewhere moving around the world in the United States and, very popular. And by the time we see what is happening today, progress in many of such classrooms is giving way to inclusive education. That is mainstream education where students who are culturally and linguistically heterogeneous could be educated. This also includes having special education students visibly attending classes with non-special education. In my time when I was in school, or many of us here, we will notice that the kind of mainstreaming we were having does not include everybody. So I am thinking of inclusive education. For instance, in my school, we have students who are not, neither Christian, Muslim, or whatever. And we also have, to my chagrin, very surprisingly, I also have students who claim to be gay within that space. And I felt that, look, if my organization will reject the students, because at a point I was part of the students registration body. So during that process, we may not know anything, but by the time they come in, we'll see that there are a lot of people we need to include. And in doing so, what methodology, what strategies are we using? So that was what brought this mediation studies on differentiation strategy, whereby we don't leave a student in spite of their differences. We don't leave them aside. We bring them together. What is your problem? What is your problem? The basic thing is to reach each student. And of course, like what Dewey said, that we cannot teach our children with what we were taught with the other time. So we really need to, move on with the tide and bring in the change that our classroom really needs. So I conducted the research and, well, to my surprise still, maybe positive one this time around, a whole lot of them claim to, please, can we go to, go on. Go on. Okay. Yeah. In my part of my literature review is what theories do we have and what theories are these teachers using? And when we look at what differentiation instruction is, simply a teaching and learning philosophy that gives teachers the leverage to vary learning activities, content demand, modes of assessment, and the classroom environment to meet the needs and support the growth of each child. So it's child-centered, and we are looking, like I said, I am looking for a way where every child, like what it used to be, what it is in America during Obama, no child is left behind. So that's exactly what differentiated instruction is all about. And when teachers are making use of this, they look at the practices, educators' practices of content, of process, and products. When we look at each of these, the content tells you about what we teach. The process, how students know what they have learned. The process. Now the product is the evidence. Have they really learned? How do we know that they have learned? And of course, like what we were told, that learning has to do with transformation in us. And if that is the case, I have used differentiation instruction to see that, look, none of my students is left behind. And in doing so, I combine that with content, the process, and the product. What they're supposed to know, I was told, maybe some of us will remember the Chinese, I was told and I forgot. I was shown and I remember. I do it myself. I'm sorry. I understand. I do it myself and I understand. So these are the basis of differentiated instruction. Please, the next slide. So the methodology was a questionnaire that tailored into, mediation, enhancing effective. It was divided into two sections. Section A consists of biographical information, and B also sublet into the first segment, including 6 items. The second segment considered differentiation strategies, and of course, with 14 items. The third section is just 5 items, and the frequency percentage was used to analyze this. Please, the next slide. So the outcome shows that the first research question was on the knowledge of differentiated instruction. And what we see is that majority of the respondents have the knowledge of differentiated instruction, though there is a huge concern on knowledge. However, a study by Pazariano showed that expert teachers in both subject matter and pedagogy could still build on their differentiated instruction and self-efficacy. The second research question was based on the differentiated strategies used by participants. And in that, about 14 items in that segment of the questionnaire shared between strong, disagree, and, with a range of 5.0 and 4.0 respectively. The third question has to do on the challenges met while implementing differentiated instructions. Okay, it contains 5 items and, please next slide. What the implication of this is that the conjecture from these studies implies that participants in the study were not after a particular model of differentiated instruction strategies, but were simply implementing best practices to this end, adequate support from the school leadership that brings the necessary professional development to the entire school is very important to overcome the challenges. And of course, we suggested that appropriate, adequate professionals, should be given to them. Lastly, in this regard, the gaps in teachers' understanding and implementation of DI will be known and are catered for if professional studies, like what happens in my school, what we do is that every term we must gather together to see what works for you, what doesn't work for me. And in the process of doing so, I am learning from you, you are learning from me, all of us are learning from each other. We do this virtually every the end of school term. And this is the way we strengthen ourselves. But excuse me, the recommendation for our government, when I was coming here, in fact, maybe I did not even broadcast it. I sponsored myself because I know once you go to the school, rambling here and there, I keep it to myself. I come on my own. In fact, what I did to get here was that, look, throughout the year, I will not go to anyone except LSA. So, and I was able to have enough savings to cater for everything. So if our government can go beyond continuing professional development for our teachers, I mean, they will do more to see that they move further and our classroom becomes where students would like to come. School administrators also, professional learning community is very, very important. Sometimes last year, the national teachers, they had a conference, and I hope it will come up this year again, because it has to do with community professional development. If this goes on, I think, and if our teachers make themselves available, I think they will learn more. And learning is basically practicing. If we are able to practice this, I know lots of pupils, lots of students are in our class, but then we must endeavor to reach out to all our students without leaving anyone outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Take care. Odujobi.
Odujobi.
Oh, sorry, Odujobi, for reminding us on the need to engage in differentiated instruction, especially in classrooms that have students with lots of diversity. So it's time for reflection. Everybody, can you pick up your pen? Do you have? Yeah, please reflect. Do you have this? Exactly. So we have to reflect, and then whatever we reflect on, she's going to collect it and put them here. We're going to talk about it later. So we have 1 minute. If it's a question, I mean, but then I think it's just after question, after reflection. Now, one thing you are taking away from this section, they should be coming to you to collect it, and we're going to have It's pasted here. And while we have 1 minute, and it has to be a silent period, right? So let's keep quiet.
Yes. I want to go now. There are some people to this. No, I'll be presenting my laptop. Sorry about that. You guys soon be on my page.
Thank you very much. So she's going around to give the big post for the next presenter, and that is going to be Dr. Gloria Algo Mola, and she's going to be presenting her paper titled "The Dynamics of Effective Engagement and Teaching Competence of Student Teachers in Osun State University and Ekiti State University." You have the floor. Wow.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
As introduced, my name is Gloria Mola from Obafemi University. I'm here to present the paper titled "The Dynamics of Effective Engagement, Teaching Competence of Student Teachers in Osun and Ekiti State University." There's a little adjustment to this. Okay, this is a fallout from my PhD thesis. So I'm still excited about it. I finished my PhD last year and I'm still excited about it. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Okay. University education is one of the most important levels. It's one of the most important levels after secondary school education. The main preoccupation of university education is to provide quality and functional education to the future generation. This includes equipping the undergraduates with skills that will make them function well in the society and secure job after graduation. Also, increasing their knowledge and information. The level of information you give to them will make them better, okay? Increasing their knowledge and information and extensive cultural, social, and economic development. Faculty of Education is like a fallout, is part of the university, is a unit in the university that was set out in order to address the critical need of well-trained, qualified, and competent teachers in our society. Now let's look at teaching competence, which is the dependent variable. Teaching competence refers to the ability and effectiveness of teachers in delivering content, managing the classroom, and aiding learning experience. This is one of the variables that can be used to measure student teachers during their teaching practice, in order to know their level of success and their level of success and failure during the teaching practice process during their undergraduate process in the university. Teaching practice in general is a crucial aspect of teacher preparatory program in teacher training institutions, such as Faculty of Education in Nigeria University. Also in colleges, they also go for teaching practice during the school year for education students. It is a period when undergraduate students are aided to put into practice the theories and principles of education which they have learned in the classroom as they teach students in a partnership school. However, exposing prospective teachers in training to teaching practice is one of the world's best practices in teacher training programs. It is important for us to know that these student teachers who go for teaching practice, they are not yet perfect. They are still learning, they are still under training. So they should not be crucified if they are not performing as expected as the professional teachers. Next slide, please. There is no doubt that this experience is unique to every undergraduate student. It's unique to everyone. Some find it very easy, exciting, they find it very interesting, while some find it very difficult and challenging to cope with. And challenging to cope with both with their academic tasks and teaching the students and all that. This means that the journey of teaching and academic competence of student teachers depend largely on how well they are skilled in areas such as classroom management and control, how they are able to manage the classroom during this teaching practice process, knowledge of the subject matter, which include the academic skill, which include the reading, mathematical skill, and the critical thinking skill, use of instructional materials in the classroom, evaluation, the ability to evaluate the student they are teaching and stroke assessment, and their personality, that is the interpersonal relationship interpersonal skills. However, in Nigeria, there is a growing concern regarding the effectiveness and preparedness of student teachers entering educational workforce. Despite going through and completing the teaching practice during the school year and during the school year and during the teacher education program. Also, through observation, the researcher, through literatures and through experience in teaching, I worked in secondary school where we have student teachers from various universities. They come for teaching practice, and through those experiences, the research also observed that there is a decline and inconsistency in the student teachers' performance during this teaching practice. This could be linked to poor or lack of teaching competence among the students or among the Faculty of Education undergraduate students. In the past, effort has been made by several researchers, have done a lot about it to examine and determine the variables that could affect teaching competence of undergraduate students. Among these are Ajayi, 2011, Oluwatayo, and others. Although these studies investigated the determinants of teaching competence of student teachers both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. However, there are insufficient empirical studies on the influence of affective engagement with particular attention on teaching competence of undergraduate student teacher, especially in the Nigerian perspective. Now, what is affective engagement? That is why we are here. What is affective engagement? Affective engagement is sometimes referred to as emotional engagement. Some call it psychological engagement. Some call it motivational engagement by various scholars, okay? It's the feelings. These are feelings or experience, interest, perception, and attitude that the student teacher have towards learning and in school. Specifically, the student's sense of belonging and willingness to learn and a general sense of liking school. However, emotionally engaged students display curiosity to learn. Students that are emotionally engaged in school, they want to learn more, they want to know more, they have the desire to, give positive response in class and all that, and they perform better academically. The objective of this study, please the next one. Sorry. Okay. The general objective of this study the general objective of this study was that to investigate the influence of affective engagement as a determinant of teachers' competence of student teachers in Osun and Ekiti State University. 3 specific objectives were raised for this study, which are: 1, to determine the level of teaching competence among undergraduate student teachers in Osun and Ekiti State Universities in Nigeria. to investigate the level of affective engagement among Faculty of Education undergraduate students in the study area. And lastly, to determine the influence of affective engagement and teaching competence among undergraduate student teacher in the study area. In order to achieve the above research objective, 3 research questions were raised, were answered, and 1 hypothesis was tested. The research questions are, what are the levels of teaching competence among the Faculty of Education undergraduate student teacher? And the second one is, what is the level of each of these, what is the level of affective engagement available among undergraduate, Faculty of Education undergraduate students? The methodology, okay. The study adopted a descriptive survey research design. The population of the study comprised of 7,838 undergraduate student teachers from the Faculty of Education from public universities. The sample size comprised of 120 public Faculty of Education undergraduate student teachers, which were selected through using multi-stage sampling technique. That is, students between the part 3 and part 4. Those from part 2 going to part 3. At the end of that, at the end of part 2, going to part 3, they go for teaching practice, and also those students from part 3 going to part 4. Okay. So 2 states, okay, sorry. From each of these 2 states were selected, okay, which is 2 states were used for the study, which is Osun and Ekiti State. From each of the 2 states, one federal university, and okay. Finally, 10 students were selected, and we have 30 students in each of the states. The sample size, the total sample size was 120 from all the 4 universities. The above show the demographic variable, Okay, the research instruments, 2 research instruments were used, which are the teacher competence assessment scale and the affective engagement scale. The validity was done at 0.05 level of significance. Appropriate statistical tools was used to analyze the data collected for the study. Research question 1 and 2 were answered using frequency, which were the levels of teaching competence and affective engagement were used to measure research question 1 and 2. Okay, that's the result for research question 1 and 2. Next slide, please. That's the result for research question 1. Next. And the one for research question 2 for affective engagement, which shows that the level of teacher competence, the next one, okay, please go back. Okay, the results show that the level of teaching competence among undergraduate students was 73.3%. Okay, this implies that the student teachers in the study area exhibit a reasonable level of proficiency in their studies. However, there is need for targeted support from stakeholders so as to enhance the student teachers' teaching competence. Okay, the next one, which is a moderate level of, the result also shows a moderate level of affective engagement at 70.8% respectively among the student teacher in Osun and Ekiti states, Nigeria. This suggested that a satisfactory but yet improvable state of involvement, self-awareness, and connection to their educational environment. Lastly, the results also show that there was no significant influence between affective engagement and teachers' teaching competence among these undergraduate students. This implies that regardless of the level of affective engagement, there are still notable impacts. There was no notable impact of affective engagement on the teaching competence of undergraduate students. These findings emphasize that there is need for more comprehensive understanding of factors influencing teaching competence. To this, the study concluded that effective engagement does not significantly influence teaching competence of undergraduate student teacher. However, there was recommendation. The researcher recommended that teachers' education program should enhance their practical experience, should enhance the student teacher practical experience, not just teaching them or allowing them to go for teaching practice, but should increase their classroom exposure through micro teaching and some other means or observation, make them observe in class, observe others, and do some other things. Diverse teaching environment should also be introduced to the students. Okay, during class, they can be taught, they can be allowed to, interact or present in class. This will also help them to build their confidence and competence. Also, mentoring should also be involved. So these students should be mentored on how to teach and how to go about it. Not all of them, since they are just coming, they are not experienced and they are just learning. Okay, for policymakers, supportive policies should be implemented. Just like what Dr. said here, when it comes to funding and resources, these students go for teaching practice without fund, and they have to go with their own fare, and all that. There should be support. There should be a way by which the government can, support these students, either give them stipend or I remember my own time, it was the IT money I got, I used during my teaching practice. And most of us here can testify. They don't give you anything when you are going for teaching practice. And it does not encourage you as a student teacher to do well or sometimes put in your best. Okay, so quality assurance. And then for students should be more proactive in learning. For the student teacher, we should teach our students during, when teaching them in class, we should teach them to be more proactive in learning. They should be more creative. They should seek for feedback, ask, how was my performance? How did I do? Did I do well? There should be this peer mentoring among them. Then a reflective practice. They should be able to reflect on what they've done so far, and then networking and collaboration. By implementing this recommendation, teacher education program, policymakers and student teacher can work together to enhance the teaching competence of future educator, ultimately leading to improved educational outcome for the student. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Tutorial of presentation, the dynamics of effective engagement and teaching competence. I like the fact that I'm not sure I've seen any study on that is focusing on student teachers, and that seems to be phenomenal and unique. Thank you very much. So it's time for reflection. Our color is pink. You have this. What did you read from her sessions? What came to your mind? Does it remind you of something? What's the most memorable thing you had from her? This lesson.
I'm just trying to talk. Don't worry. How can I do that? That is one is also people in there.
We have 30 more seconds to reflect and put something down on how our session has impacted us or our practice. Remember, this session is an innovative session. So we're expecting innovations from left, right, and center, and we're going to co-create. We're going to co-create whatever innovations we're taking away from here. So, the chairman has become chairless. That's part of it. That's part of the innovation. Thank you very much. Let's give it back to her. The next person. But before I call the next person, I'd like to know, is Lucky Oluchukwu here? Lucky Oluchukwu.
Anybody else?
He's online? Is he online? No. Okay, do we have Patience? Okay, wow. She online? Oh, okay. All right, not yet. Thank you for that. For putting here. So it's my pleasure to also call on Yetunde Alamede for her presentation, implementing teaching, not teaching, understanding by design with the colonial pedagogy for diverse learning environment. Yetunde Alamede is from Michigan University.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm so excited here. First, I want to apologize to people on Zoom that you may not be able to see my slide. Probably know that some of the things that is expected, I couldn't download that, but also we are doing something on innovative and something decolonial. So we also have to at times reorient ourselves. Before colonialism, before technology, there are ways to educate ourselves. And I know as an undergrad, one of the things my teachers used to say is, as a teacher, you have to be spontaneous. And also teaching apples on your feet. So if technology is doing something, what is your plan B? This is how I'll be presenting today. I'm sorry. Hopefully we'll be able to see your presentation. Yes, ma'am. And like she said, I am Yetunde Alamede, and I'm a doctoral student at Michigan State University, which means that what I'll be presenting may not be too perfect because I am a learner. And I am not doing, it's just going to be a storytelling. So maybe you will join along with me as I tell you the story of what I'll be talking about. I'll be presenting on implementing, then I strike out teaching, so it means it's starting with a teaching thing. And it will be about understanding by design, the decolonial pedagogy for diverse learning environments. And as I project, I want to say that with that, my research is my life, and my life is a part of my research, and that is by Gloria Lassin-Billings in 2000. And part of it is thinking about, even when we say we are researchers, even when we say we are teachers, there are ways that elements of what we do still reflect our life. For me, what I'll be talking about today, we talk about not just my decolonial journey as a student in the United States, but also reflects on how I have been educated in Nigeria and how it is also impacting the way I raise my child, especially in a place whereby it's predominantly white, and all the school she's been going, she has always been the only black child in the classroom. What does that mean? And what does it mean also for the teacher candidates that I teach? And I also want to thank Doctor for his presentation talking about no child left behind. I could really relate to that because those are some of the things we tell our teacher candidates. And what she was saying about affective engagement, teacher preparation, it reminded me of my teaching practice because I started as an NC graduate at Federal College of Education at Abeokuta. So I was reflecting on all those things to think about, yes, these are the things that we really need to think about. And also, what I teach and where I am at Michigan State, my program has been the best for the past 20 to 25 years in teacher preparation program. I am not saying that to advertise my program. I am saying that to say that even though they are saying they are the best in the United States in teacher preparation program, there are so many lapses in terms of who gets to be teachers. What are they inculcating? How are they inclusive enough? What are the innovations that they bring into the classroom? So that is the essence that I'm trying to look at it. And today, in moving forward, I've done brief about the introduction, what I'm trying to understand, I'll talk briefly about it. Then I'll talk about backward curriculum design, which is the understanding by design, methods and methodology, and weaving it into the story because the colonial way is not also saying, yes, you are taking the side question and everything. So I'll weave everything in, my findings and my conclusion. So here is the one context of my class. This is an undergrad class. And the topic, the course I teach is Social Foundations of Justice and Equity in Education. This class is required for everybody that wants to be a teacher. So teacher candidates, they need to take the course. Aside from that, everybody in the university, they want to take that class, they can take it. And in this class, if you look at the people, they were talking about diverse learners. Yes, I am the only black and I am the instructor. It's not about the instructor being the only black. I am also an international student. What do I know about the US system? I don't do what I can do. And I bring in my Nigerian perspective. But even these students, even though they all appear to be white, if we also check, we would see more females than males, which is what we have in Nigeria too. And I'm sorry if I am wrong. Like in the US, we have about 70 or 80% teachers that are white female. What does this mean for the black females? Or what does it even mean for the black population generally? What is the inclusion? What is the innovation? Then if you also check, even though we have many blacks there and we have many whites there, and we also have maybe few males, the diversity there also is we have those from the LGBTQ community there. We have people from different social backgrounds there. It was from teaching these students that I realized that, yes, even though they are white, a lot is going on. There are some that you have to provide lunch for them in class. There are some that you have to give them gifts, and even as an instructor. What does that mean in terms of how they teach? What does that mean in terms of how they go to the classroom? But if I look at all this, what does it mean if these people are the ones teaching that their child over there? Do they really understand their lived experiences? But in this class, we talk about equity. We talk about what is happening in other countries. We talk about you thinking through who you are. But it's not just about everything we talk about. It is also thinking about what do you want to take away from this class. So the way we do it is we use what we call the living syllabus. And I say living syllabus, yes, we have everything we'll be doing, but we are also free to, like, every week we'll be changing what we want to do. If this does not sit well with what you want to learn, let us change it. So it is a Google Doc, I will keep editing it, I will keep adding the rating, so that way, some of the things to cover is, okay, who are you? How do you get to know who you are? Then that way it helps them to understand their white privilege. Like, just because you are white, there are so many things you get that people that are black do not get to get. And at times, because you are white, there are certain things you are denied or the environment you live. But what does this all mean in the different schools that you are? Again, thinking about how you put some of those things behind and consider your students. That is context one of what I'll be talking about. Context two, I'm just going to play this video a bit. And I'll talk about it for us to see. You can see the people there. We may not be able to hear what they are talking about. It is also not about the talking, but it's about us seeing the people there. This is an online classroom that I teach. I teach oral language online. It is not being paid. I started this during COVID, and the people that I teach are just Nigerian children from 3 years to 12 years in different parts of the US because COVID started. And why is that? Because this child does not need to forget our roots. And how do you want to do that? We live like where I live. I think we see people that speak Yoruba. So that is one another innovation. And all these people, they are not just, it's not just about teaching them, but the community we have built. So this very space was when she was celebrating her first birthday, then we had the African Story Night. And everybody joined, and we also learned through that. And this I've been teaching 2020, so this is 2024. Some of them talk. And with this as well, I'll talk about the context too. We don't have a structure. Like, this is the curriculum or anything. No. What do you want to learn today? At times I don't even ask them, oh, on Wednesday we are going to the mall. Then how do we say going in Yoruba? Then we start. How do we say I, Molo, Allah? Then we start building it. So they are more or less the teacher. I am just a guy. I learned with them. And also I'm doing that with a two-way thing. And that is why I strike out teaching. Because I am learning about American culture from them. I was never born or raised in the US, but I am raising a child in the US. So I learn a lot of things from them. And from my undergrads too, I'm learning a lot from them, for them being Americans, while I'm also showing things about Nigeria that they must know what's happening at Yaba because I played the jokes with them. That is the second context of my class. Now, This is the person saying. So I want to talk briefly about the understanding by design. According to Wiggins and Martic 2005, understanding by design is basically on backward curriculum design. And what does backward curriculum design means? It has 3 stages: identify desired results. And when you identify the desired results, you consider your learners. What do they want? You think about determining acceptable evidence of learning. That is the output. What do you want to see? And here, you plan teaching and learning experience, not just based on what you want. Again, based on what the learners want. I'll be rushing through, and this is just the what is it like? If I do not know where I am, will I know where I'm going? So here, when you identify learning outcome, what should students be able to do at the end of the course? What so we have what the department wants us to do. We always want to have something like getting to know you solving. So if class is starting next week, 2 weeks before class, we send an email to them and like have a Google form of everything. Who are you? What will you be learning with? What do you want to achieve? What support do you need? So having understanding of all those helps like plan the lesson. Then you choose appropriate assessment method. Here also I strike out assessment because for me also when you tell me I want to do that, but why I hate it. It makes me to be 10, but that is part of assessment. So I'll talk more about evaluation. And that is what we need to start thinking about in terms of like yes, we know that we need that for maybe scholarship and everything, but does it really bring out the desired change in behavior or in learning that we want? Because even in our national policy on education, I think it talks about we have to be developing this city and the subject like I think one of it also the united strong and self-reliant nation. So if they are not like yes, I'm just doing I'm need to use the word I don't get up. How about this people garbage out? Where is how do you want to be useful to yourself? How do you want to measure what you do? Then the other one is planning learning experience. Again, what will you do in and out of the classroom? I know with Dr. Amao, I keep talking about I just don't want to go to school. Let's think about town-down relationship. Don't just teach me everything in the computer. What is applicability? And I hear that from what you were saying too, like how I start teaching all this for them to like get to the field and be able to have passion for what they were doing. Aside those 3 stages, I said the colonial. What is the colonial in what I'm doing? I tried to put it in conversation with Walter Mignolo 2011. Like he argues that the coloniality requires the linking from the colonial markets of power. Maybe one of these guys should have said I'm maybe using slides. Like also again, like I know you don't know that is part of the colonial thing, and that is why we sit that yes, we sit in the front, we do it, but you know, co-constructing knowledge. Then again, like I highlighted all this thing, building global futures. I think when I think about the global futures, people are asking, what is global? What is local? And that is why I try to make it a two-way thing. In my class, I will try to invite 2 guest speakers that are Nigerians, and my students know already. Even if what they want to talk about does not speak to what I want to do, I will tell them fit it in. So the way I do it is like just make everything to work so that they are learning and we are learning from them. And again, that's my part of the colonial journey. A way of also my decolonial journey is conversation with parents. Like those parents, people don't expect a parent service, I will still tell them, what do you want these children to achieve? And one of the things I do first is anybody that is coming in, give me list of your conversations at home in English. They will create that Google Doc, they will start learning those in Yoruba first, and they are seeing it, and I write reports. So here, this is what I do, like just my chat with the parents for them to see. And this was another family that was introduced in January 27. And after everything, this is a push created this activity. This family, they are in Canada, they have 2 kids, and I just started to them in January, and then we just keep going back and forth and everything. But because she has access, and that is why I started to need to be transparent too, because we also learn from the parents. With the Google Doc, she was seeing what we are doing, and we write reports, oh, this is what we did and everything. And then we will send message on WhatsApp. I think I talk a lot. Then with that, I think the parents is also decolonial in her way of thinking, because she felt like if they are doing English and everything, they have textbook for it. And she already has list of all those words here and the sentences in Yoruba. Then she just used ChatGPT and whatever to create pictures and to make the book for the children. I was surprised when they showed me that they wanted to have a class and the girl was like, see the book my mommy made. I have never thought about making that book. So I told her I would be using that. And also I did use this is also saying spontaneous. These are some of my children's work. Omi water, modeling. And I think here we're talking about colors or trees. They just look all this artwork. I will tell them do what you want to do. Meanwhile, these classes are online, so it's come with all these challenges. And they're like, I think the oldest of them is 9 years. So a lot of out of the 50-minute class, it's a lot of talking and playing and dancing. They are experts in listening to so kids TV. But despite that, if anything like if there's something that interests them, remember we talked about sensing the learner. So whatever they want to do, we weave that in with what we want to learn. And that talks about being flexible. Some of those times I don't know it. I'm just saying Google Translator. And we would like make sense. So I just sent that to some of my friends. And that goes back to us needing network. We cannot do it alone. So in US, there's American Association of Teachers of Yoruba. If I don't know anything, I'll just put the head up, say, hey, how do you say this? And I'll learn from there. Then here we use Flipgrid. So because it's online, I have to use different applications or software. So Flipgrid is a way, it's a video of how do I explain it? It's one of these, yeah, we make video, they respond, we talk, so that's it. Yeah, we give them, I give them prompts. And we have some of those conversations. They use Play-Doh. We're talking about silverware. So Play-Doh, to make this, because I also make my work to task based. In terms of evaluation, like I said, I use diagnostic, getting to know you survey, my formative for my undergrad, I use note captions like, okay, summarize what you've done or what you've read. Then we do in-class conversation. Then signal project for the children, like, okay, what is Mother's Day? Let's make cards. What is Father's Day? Let's sing song, and everything we do it for them. Then summative, we do talent show. These are some of their works again for the kids. This was during Ramadan. They were doing face painting, they sent pictures. And this was 3 weeks ago when Amon was doing graduation, one of the students, and she made card for her in Yoruba. I wanted to play this, but I don't have time. I can only show you. This was my talent show, my undergrad. I said, what we're going to do is, everything you've learned in the class, make it a form of talent show. Some summarize it as a talent show. Some came, this was playing this as summarize what you learned. Another one would be perfect, like drama. I have that as well, but time. I can only stop through all this later. Then this was summative evaluation for some of the children too. I don't have time. So I'm talking that I said, so Pharaoh was our keyword there for us to learn from. These are some of the summative evaluation as well. Summative evaluation. I have as I was just thinking about the way I do community for the students, like we also for some of these things to happen, our day one is trying to build community, let them break into smaller lunch groups, because some of these spaces don't really create that community, people may not be comfortable. But these are some of the things. These are slides the reminders to the students. I wanted to show all this, but time says no. What they need to do. My final implication is that I don't think I should call it final, but it's like as learners, we need to really become critical thinkers, and as teachers, we need to see ourselves as learners as well. And also, as we saying it while talking, like as teachers, we need to really be flexible and intentional, not just about teachers, but also to think about this for policy makers. And that is why Kazara and Gomez in 1976, they were talking about career, and when they say career, they're talking about your experience before, how your past experience is becoming in the future as you are in the present. So as teachers, we really need to think about that. And I think that is all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much here today. I like it. So how so reflection time. Oh, right. Reflection time. We have 1 minute to reflect. What have you been? What gives you different? How does it relate to your practice? What are you taking home? Her name is here today. We have 30 more seconds. It's not yet time for question and answer. Remember, this is an innovative pedagogy room. And the idea is for us to share best practices. Now, one of the reasons why I thought of this panel is that I want to decolonize the fact that teachers need everything available to be effective. And it's driving us towards innovation. So just last week, I was telling somebody that, you know what I pride myself as a teacher? The things I pride myself in is that if you give me a room filled with technology, everything I need to be innovative as a teacher, I will teach. But the same way, if you take me into the village and put me under the tree with children who have only parents on, we will still make impact. I think it's at that point that we will be able to say that we have achieved our goals as teachers.
Yes.
That's the place of creativity, innovation. I am a proponent of that word improvisation. I mean, anything, and usually when we do design thinking training, you want me to be there. I usually mention it. You want me to be there? You cover me with camera and hair. So that I usually say it, especially when we're working with other teachers, that everything with you is a resource. The people, the process, the hardware, the software, everything is a resource. But I'd like you to give yourself a hug for coming to this panel. And I would like us to clap for our panel. So as much as possible, we're going to model what an ideal classroom is, despite the fact that we have everything here.
Yeah.
So somebody else will read for, who's going to volunteer? Let me ask first, who is green? Who was green? First, I want to understand, you can remember their names. Who used the screen? Who did we use the green for? The first speaker, what's his name, ma? That's a good one. I like the fact that she said, it's a learning has taken place. Learning has taken place. So nothing happens by chance in the classroom. Everything happens because something happened. And she said something that struck me. I wrote it down. The thing who gets to be a teacher is very important for every nation. Off camera now, I saw one executive order from the US, and it's about teaching and about who gets this on this. Thank you for that. So let's move ahead. Who's going to read this? For green. Who wants to read for green? You read for her. Okay. You said today you have a fan in the room. Okay. Please stand up. Come and read for Mr. Don't worry, we're going to ask questions. There are questions. Don't you or should we read questions straight up? You know, she mentioned that it is iterative. The syllabus is not rigid. While you are teaching, some things happen, and then you have to align yourself. That's why it's teaching by design. It is what happens next that determines what I will do next. We have to be spontaneous because surprises happen in class. If a student drives a car to your, I wanted to use a student laughing us, but then I'd like to use a positive example. A student drove to the house and to your school and said, "This is your new car." He said, but then what if it was a slap? Shoe. All right, somebody's listening. Can we listen? Thank you. So you read for Ojujo. Thank you. This is from all of us. We have co-created all this. I hope to have this and send it to us. We're going to snap it. You can see how she's using her, there's something I wrote down, her portfolio.
Yeah.
Everything you do in the class.
Yeah.
That's why you don't just use what teachers are not ordinary people. You pictures, you snap, the things your students say, it is your research. You don't need somebody outside your class to come and teach us what we should do to design good learning experiences for us. Let me not talk for teachers talk too much. So the first reflection was differentiation is a journey, and while on the journey, all students must be involved. Okay, when we hear that, we do this. If you agree, do this. If you disagree, let me take that again. You don't get in between the neutral. This is agree, this is disagree, and so we all must be engaged, like she said. Engagement is key, so that I don't walk out of this thing and they expect, what happened in that room? We don't even understand. She wasn't. All right, so let's go. Thank you.
So the first reflection is differentiation is a journey, and one of it, all students must be involved.
Yes.
The next one says emphasis on inclusive education.
Yes.
And the next one says differences. Differences.
Yeah, that's
That's what we're talking about.
Can I give you comment on that?
Why not?
Yeah, I think I really like saying difference. You were like, oh, what does that mean? But I know like part of activities that we do in class at times is one word for what you are taking away from class. So once they give that one word, then it helps to generate more conversations and open it up for more people.
Okay, another one says African music as a medium of knowledge transfer in secondary school.
African music.
Maybe
Say that again.
African music as a medium of knowledge transfer in secondary school.
So I suspect that the person,
Yes.
the first topic is African music. So let's assume a student came in late to class and there is time, I was just given this. So we have to acknowledge the fact that you went straight here to say, I must say something and connect it to other things. Thank you. Whoever wrote that, thumbs up.
Collective learning collective learning taking place in the school throughout the semester. Okay. Yeah. The need for reflexivity for the teacher and sharing with others to learn or learn and relearn good strategies.
Yes. So I think there's a journal on teachers' reflexivity.
Oh,
Yes.
you can share it on our.
Yeah, when the journal. Yeah.
The next one says, how do you handle the content of critics in your school in trying to learn from each other?
Okay, that's a question. Let's have a question. Okay, there's a back.
Okay, sorry. A system of learning that encompasses all strata of students at their levels. Let me take that again. A system of learning that encompasses all strata of students at their level.
No, it's a comment. The comment. So let's talk about it. The comment. They were you're giving question. A question.
The next one says, funding is key for funding is key for promoting quality education in both the teacher and the student. Yes, I don't know. Differentiated instruction is key. No child must be left out or behind, and government needs to sponsor teachers with training. I would like you to, okay, this is a question. Okay, this one doesn't have any. These are the questions. Then another one says, the deployment of the differential instructional strategy to cater for student needs, what are the success rates? Mediation, enhancing effective differentiated instructional strategies with diverse student population. I think would be jobbing. Observation, research, idea. And next from observation, I didn't get that word. There is a need for a change in instructional strategy. Also, child-centered approach versus learner-centered approach. I think the person is trying to make a comment. Should mediation in differentiated learning situations be focused on the child or learners? And that's like a question. I think a comment for the question. I see that done.
Yes.
Very decent. Can we also run for our leader? I love for our one was the area. Please come up. Let's back on this area. Area will be for our. Well, Maria, you get me enough, so I'm going to fast enough to you. I have 2 minutes to read. We must all be carried that. So Maria is one of the best judges in Lagos. She just won 1 million. Keep going, you can see at the end of the day.
Okay, there is a lot to be done in form of keeping teachers engaged in the work they do. There is a lot to be done in form of keeping teachers engaged in the work they do. Student teachers need to be motivated and mentored. Student teachers should be given room to evolve in the learning process. Okay, A is effective engagement. Did you conclude that the competence of the student teacher? I think this is the question. There's another one at the back. How do you measure? That question. The teacher education program is crucial to effective engagement and teaching competence. While mentoring is important, I wish to add that the manner in which it is done is far more important. Irrespective of my effective engagement, I must be personally and professionally committed to enhance confidence and competence. Encouraging student competence, in student competence. Acquire the needed skills required to succeed as a student teacher through teacher learning program. Yes, that is the question. What it is the question. Teaching competence, teaching practice is a best practice. I relate to teaching practice lack of ready competence. Critical thinking skill is key. Sense of belonging. Convenience. Okay, this person is talking about challenges he or she faced during NC.
The question.
Just expressing.
Critical thinking is key. And sense of belonging is key. The use and how to incorporate teaching material during teaching practice should be encouraged.
Yes.
Student teachers should be encouraged. This increase engagement in this field. Dynamics of effective engagement. And agreed with skills to secure job. Making government funding available to teaching practice schools. That's one. Effective engagement does not influence teaching competence. Exposing student teachers to teaching practice build more confidence in molding teacher. There is a very important relationship between effective engagement and student teachers.
Please, let's put your Bible with us. Can you use your Bible on the next chair for Maria? For helping out. We need a man. Men in the house. Should I nominate somebody? Yes, sir.
Balance.
Balance read.
Okay, I can
Okay, can I volunteer?
No, sir. You have a big chair there. A very big chair. So please bear with us.
My question.
Oh, that exclusion. You said you want to volunteer.
Yeah.
I don't think you
You have given, or you divide it into two,
No.
or you divide
You are dividing it. You know, I don't want to go to court. Yes, they are learning. I'm learning.
Yes.
Please come in front. And then Ella. You have 1.5 minutes. Okay, evaluation by assessment, language is a barrier. As a teacher, you have to be spontaneous.
Yes.
Identify social justice and equality in education, appropriate lesson plan and evaluation, applicability of knowledge transfer in the classroom. The more stories we share as teachers, the more we are able to deliver creativity.
Yes.
Who gets to be teachers is very important for every nation. Portfolio creativity, adaptive flexibility in curriculum design and teaching method. Teachers can be decolonized and decontextualized. Technology enhanced student engagement and interactive.
Yeah.
And the last one, which happens to be mine. Lovely presentation. Please, how can we replicate this type of teaching method in the public schools in Nigeria? Thank you. Give me clap for her. Who's going to give us? Okay. Can we give her what to give in her? Okay. I'm not clapping on.
I wonder your.
Thank you. Beautiful presentation. Now it's time for
So I see
you still have some.
Okay.
You still have some. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, flexibility in teaching is highly important. It produces excellent results. Modesty is also germane
Yeah.
in teaching practices.
Yeah.
Making learning fun can be actually innovative and make students want to learn more.
Yeah.
It's good that approach, but lack of curriculum is a concern. Objectives of the study will be taken. If you allow students to choose the conversation, they may not be getting what you want what you want them to learn. The commitment and courage to teach Yoruba is in US.
Yeah.
Teacher leader is a facilitator. Teacher is a facilitator in the classroom.
Yeah.
The student take charge of the learning. How I appreciate how energetic maybe you are, or one hits or something like that. Yeah.
All right. I want to, before I give them, so they're going to be on the nonsense now. They're going to pitch for one minute. How do we stop them? Because we don't, how many minutes we have? We have 3 minutes. Very good. 45 seconds for each of them. Can't keep up. So how do we stop them? We will not. In the US, when time is up, what do you hear? You hear the bell and everybody goes out. They want to ask you whether you are No. So we won't do that for you. Like Nigeria, we are fine. So from you, you have all your questions already.
My questions are
Oh.
very
Oh, no, you're with you, sorry. So what did you glean and what are you telling the people that asked you questions? So, Ms. Alebede, you have yours?
Yes, I don't have it.
No question, you have?
No, mommy, there, question about it.
There's only one.
Okay, look, I don't think I have a question.
So, go ahead, Mr.
Okay.
45 seconds.
Thank you very much.
Your time starts now.
For your attention. How did you handle the problem of critics in your school in trying to learn from each other? When Paul said it's everything to everybody, if I'm handling any session like that, I have to. Like my sister said, you don't turn anybody down. We learn from each other. What do you have to do? You have a space as much as I do.
Yeah.
If you disagree with me, it's not a problem. What I would do if you disagree with me is to go more on research. When I see anything that counters your claim, I will come, please, can we see this? Can we see this? And we do that with love. I would like you to explain the approach of incorporating different, the approach is very simple. Well, it works well with a small class, good. But even with a large class, you can still touch each student. And the passion, you have to have the passion. You have to love the children. And since it is a diversity, different people in a single place. And the basic thing as a teacher is reaching that child. So I endeavor as much as possible. And again, I might even peer them. Look, if you don't understand what I'm saying, can you make the other guy or can you make the other girl? Is it making any efforts? Does it make sense? Is it making sense to you? Did you understand? Okay, for me to know that you understand, come to the class and make a presentation.
Thank you. Miss today.
Okay, thank you so much for the comments, for the attention.
5 seconds.
I just wanted to one comment first about the curriculum. So I want to say that for us, even though I made like with the child and everything, we still connect it to the course overview, the objective and everything. So we always have the key questions. So there's a way we tailor it to that. That is on the curriculum. And here, how can we replicate this in public schools in Nigeria? I want to say that even in the US, it is really challenging. There are some professors that do not really embrace that. So I think that the only thing I think about in Nigeria public school system, especially if you are thinking about the huge number, it takes a lot of intentionality on the teacher and also trying to work with the parents or with the guidance and with the school. I think it's just standing one's feet and showing how this thing has worked in different contexts. And also, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ma. We're going to lunch. We can always, I'll give you some stopper. After half.
Okay, I want to say thank you to everyone for your comments and observation and all that. Okay, I have 3 questions with me. The first is, how do you cope
30 more
with a
seconds.
child? How do you cope with a child whose learning ability is below or far from others? Or whose learning ability is below? One of the things I do is when I'm in class and I find out that a child cannot cope very well in the class, I'll ensure that I try to give the child, either I give the child special attention or pick the child out, put him in the midst of those that are more competent. And you find out that with time, the student will start picking and all that. Then I also have a question. This is, why did you use regression analysis and sample only 120 out of over 7,000 population? What actually, I use a descriptive survey research design, and I use the qualitative and both the qualitative and quantitative. The reason for this is the qualitative was the observational method. The reason for this is if I give you a questionnaire to fill and I say, how competent are you? What will you do? You want to see yourself that you are very competent, you are very good and all that. So I was in the class to observe the students. Thank you.
I don't want to use this method in Nigeria. I used to talk with the chief president, and I've already, I used two-dimensional animation, and I designed a concept for my students, and it's part of my PhD work, and I used secondary school in Nigeria, because I developed something like that, looks like a cartoon.
Wow.
Concept in Nigeria curriculum and design something that looks like a cartoon, but the platform and the software I use is 2D animation.
Wow.
And I do see in the Nigerian curriculum, I design some concepts using that teach the students in the class. But the only thing is that if you are using this kind of thing in Nigeria, you just I have my projector, I have the screen, projector screen. If there is no light, I will use my smart jet. So this is the what I pray. I please spend money on that. But I use it in Nigeria. What training in Nigeria? So the only thing is that you want to use it, then it's what tell yourself that you put it behind and use it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Our online audience, thank you for your patience. Something Akindele is saying, I think this is a quasi-experimental study. If it is so, the research question should check the effect of the treatment. I don't know which of the studies they should be hers, so you can take that home. He's also saying the methodology. How many participants did you use, and what's the justification? That's coming again, so I think you have to look into it. Babalola Ojomo said, I want to appreciate all the presenters on the innovative teaching method presented. My question for all of them: how do you make differential learning and pictorial learning work in crowded public school? I believe you've gotten the answer to that, because that question also came up. Thank you very much. Dr. Oyetoro Oyebode, from Dr. Kumola, since effective engagement does not have significant effect on teaching competence of the teacher, what is the implication of this for teacher education? Since effective engagement does not have significant effect on teaching competence of the teacher, what is the implication for teacher educators? What can be done to improve it in spite of its non-significant effect on teaching competence? Or are you suggesting this is to be jettisoned altogether? This is a challenge to your study. These are really challenging questions that will help you dive deeper. I want to thank you, Dr. Oyetoro, for this. Name looks very familiar. Because of our time, we will not be able to say much from our speakers. So I want to appreciate you so much for believing in this panel and coming to listen to us. This panel continues by 3:45, room 105. Today.